Hello again, and welcome to In Taiwan We Speak, your audio guide to Taiwan's mind-blowing linguistic diversity. I am Alexander Shin, and this is the last part of our conversation with Biung Ismahasan, contemporary indigenous arts curator, assistant researcher, and assistant professor of curatorial practices at National Jinan University in Nantou. So Biung, some of our listeners might not be familiar with the meaning and intricacies of the profession of art curation. What does it mean to be a curator? And especially, what does it mean to be an indigenous curator?
I was asking myself, what does it mean to be an indigenous curator, to present indigenous contemporary art and indigenous art? I think it's a very hard question for me all the time. I think the curatorial job is a very, very difficult job for my entire career, because you need to take care of everything, especially for the human being. And you have to collaborate with somebody. And majority of the curator, they define themselves what kind of imagination you think for this work. The majority of the curator also produce their own exhibition toolkit. You have to produce your guideline. For example, how you would like to form an exhibition and identifying and working with your partners and writing the curatorial schedule and your project schedules, the funding, and your site, and looking for the places, spaces, and identifying the archival resources for display. If you are curate the cultural object, you need to do the research. And if you are curating contemporary art, and you need to do the field trip and collaborate with artists, you need to, learn more about the hidden background about artists. And within the exhibition, you have to plan activity, a program, and exhibition marketing, the object installation, and exhibition opening and evaluation. This is the guideline. I think it's very personal, and you can decide what you want to do.
How often do you have conflicts or clashes with artists?
How often? Every time.
Every time.
I think the most difficult time. I think it's a good lesson for me too, especially that. Can you imagine that you are the young generation, but how would you collaborate with your elder generation people if you are the curator? And the curator mostly have the right to control the quality of the exhibition. And how would you like to control the quality of the exhibition, and also including your invited participation, who is your elders? This is very difficult, but I think I always learn about that.
Are there any young people?
Yes, they do have the young emerging artists. But, I have collaborated with the majority elders artists. I don't know why. Maybe this is my fortune to meet these elders artists. For example, Ellen Luluan. And I learned.
Is she an elder?
She's the eldest in this field.
How old is she?
It's 52, 53.
Wait, is that considered elder in art?
But I define that she's the eldest artist.
All right. Now, when we speak specifically about indigenous arts and indigenous contemporary arts, what is it like to curate that?
They also have a lot of indigenous curators at the moment. And the role of indigenous curators, I think the responsibility to engage with the decolonial concept of performative indigeneity, which is engaging with the artistic entanglement, entanglement. It's a kind of very strong form of installation of the curatorial collaboration process. My function is to offer indigenous view on topics that include the distinct colonial wood and land trauma, and the meaning and the practice of sovereignty across indigeneity. And by working and gathering indigenous artists in an exhibition, it's very complicated. It's very beautiful, and it's very chaotic. Yes, and by gathering those persons in one space, the various generations confronted coloniality, including coloniality of our knowledge, the coloniality of the being, and the coloniality of religion, the trapping the spirituality. And the spirituality, which is focused on the theoretical, the Christian and Catholic and indigenous community art, and also indigenous secular liberal traditional religions. And I maintain an indigenous centralism as a counterpoint to stress the production of the knowledge about the curatorial decoloniality. One of my friends, she's Anaspi curators from Anaspi people, Anash Nation, the First Nation people in Canada, Wanda Nabish. And she asserts that the word like return, resurgent, and rewriting all have embedded in them a colonial idea of time, the way we have not had continuity, contemporarity, or even modernity, even if otherwise than its European visions. In my previous research about the performative installation, I used my Bunun languages. They called Bunun du Dalanyan, which means indigenous relational space. Relational, which means that the space can have the function between the peoples and the spirit, side of the cultural ceremony, spirituality of space in the community. And I would like to say that it look like our cultural ceremony in the festival. For example, Malatanya, which means the Shooting Years Festival in Bunun in May.
Shooting Years
Festival, Searchi. And Bunun Tudalanyan, I think, has contributed to the establishment of the trans-indigenous relational art. And the trans-indigenous relational art is, I didn't invent this term, and this term is offering what the cultural historian and the literature scholar, Native American, Chadwick Allen. And Allen, in the different context, contextualized indigenous relational art in the broader field of trans-indigenous cultural practice that assert the centering the indigenous to become a new standard. So relational is my key element to do my research. Seen from this perspective, and my curatorial work can be described as, trans-indigenous mode of curation. So that's why this is very important for me.
Now, Biung, thank you so much for sharing. We're nearing the end of our conversation for today, but there's some things I would like to ask you about the language itself, Bunun language. Now, if there was one word or phrase that you could teach our audience from Bunun today, what would that be?
I would like to share the very, very Western style of the philosophy from our elders in Bunun. It's called Hapnaya. Hapnaya, which means, and literally is translated to they know.
They know.
And the situation and the phenomenon will be that if the young generation want to ask the question to the elders about how they facing the dilemma, and they don't know how to solve the problem, and they always ask the direct question, especially for the very, very controversial issue and the relationship of the people. And the young generation will ask the direct question to the elders. And the elders, the majority of the Bunun elders would not like to tell you the correct answers. They also say the Hapnaya. Hapnaya, which means that they have already faced the experience in the previous time. And you need to find your own experience, on your answer by yourself first. And then I'm waiting, the elders will be waiting for your responses after your exploration.
Oh, wow.
About finding your answer. So Hapnaya.
I love this wisdom. So,
Yeah.
for example, if a young Bunun man or woman cannot choose which university to go to, and they come to their elders and they ask them for an advice, so elders can just say
Hapnaya, yes, Hapnaya.
You
have to find yourself, your decision by yourself, and I'm waiting for you to respond. I'm waiting for your answers. I'm waiting for your researching, exploring about how you find your correct answers. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a wise thing to say. Often, I think, probably more useful than unnecessary advices.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, how do you say In Taiwan, we speak Bunun in Bunun.
Isha Taiwan Jinghai, Malasti Bunun Kaimi.
That is how you say in Taiwan, we speak Bunun in Bunun. And that is our message for you today, our listeners. Thank you, Biung, for being with us throughout these 3 episodes.
Thank you, Oleg, for inviting me to have this beautiful afternoon here. And I would like to say thank you for all the viewers. And I hope you have the wonderful in the near futures. And Namashakasu.
Dear listeners, thank you for being with us. Please don't forget to give us some boost on social media and recommend this program to your friends. And of course, do come back next week for another one of Taiwan's fascinating languages. Once again, this was In Taiwan We Speak. I am Oleg, and see you next week.